I maintain that the policymaking and the economic modeling and the cultural movements through society, right? The study of society sociology, all of that is tied to the foundation of what we actually believe. The ideologies behind our like what we vote for, what we want to see in the world, how we view each other, how we view commodities and labor and everything, right? It's literally tied into religion. Capitalism is tied into Christianity so fucking deeply that you can't really separate the two. I'm certainly not exclusive for bringing this up, but it's so frustrating for me when a lot of like leftists or like Marxists or socialist creators or thought leaders, I understand that everyone has kind of like their niche perspective and their more focused expertise and areas of interest and everything, but I'm always like a little let down when I see political thought leaders or content creators. Like when I say thought leaders, I mean the people who are getting book deals or booked for public speaking gigs because I don't want to call out any names because they're doing a good job for what they're doing, but they're out here and they're talking about how the working class needs to unite, and they're talking about how we need to solve for climate change. All of these like political activists or social justice activists are out here doing very valuable and, respectable work. Okay. I don't want to stop anyone. And I understand that everyone's coming at all of these problems from different perspectives. I'm not trying to be unfair, but I'm like, you're missing the mark. You're not going to be able to convince anyone of anything unless you're also critiquing their religion. And I think a lot of people are hesitant. A lot of people in like more political and like social justice sphere are hesitant to offend anyone based on their religion, when in reality, it's religion that's causing the fucking problem. Then on the other hand, we have a lot of people who have deconstructed from a high control religion, such as Christianity, evangelical Christianity specifically, Mormonism, anything like that. And they're out here talking about how traumatic religion is and how it's not accurate, right? They can get super like locked into the dogmatic perspective of science or nothing or materialism or nothing and all of this stuff, which is like, science is not a belief system. It is a process. It's a toolkit for establishing lowercase t truths about the world. But people, especially when you grow up in that environment of a high demand religion, it can be really easy to want to replace it with a new dogma, right? If you grew up relying on dogma so much to dictate how you view the world, how you move through the reality, etc., it's a lot easier for you to like then switch to the scientific community and be like, well, science explains everything actually, which is like science does. But do you know what I mean? Like people use it as a replacement dogma instead of recognizing it for what it is, which is the intentional, constant skepticism. And that's what critical thinking is. It's not just critical think. This is a thing that I fell into when I like first started reading more about science, because I had to teach myself science since I wasn't educated accurately in the religiously fundamentalist high school I went to. But there's this misunderstanding, I think, for me and for a lot of people, where they say you've got to use your critical thinking as if critical thinking is like you're just more accurate about society, right? Critical thinking is like, oh, well, the earth is round. That actually, saying that the earth is round is not actually critical thinking, right? Having an accurate recognition or understanding a true verifiable fact or a law of nature, that is not critical thinking. Being right is not critical thinking. Critical thinking is a process. It is a constant questioning of your thoughts. You're being critical of your own thoughts. And I think that's really important and a lot of times really missed when people, especially again, when people grow up in religious environments and they are taught that there is this overarching capital T absolute truth about how the world works, about how reality works. And I think it can be really easy for them to then look at science and be like, oh, this is the absolute truth, right? And so all of the things that the scientific community says, they have to be 100% correct. Like, I'm going to put all of my eggs in the scientific basket. And that, I think, can plant and still not leave room for critical thinking, which is why when I'm out here challenging the scientific community and calling out the fact that the science, I mean, it was pseudoscience, but like the scientific community was used to justify chattel slavery, sorry, what was I saying? That the scientific community was out here justifying chattel slavery and the subjugation of women and the discrimination and violence against the LGBTQ plus community, right? When I'm out here critiquing, being critical about the scientific community, a lot of people who are not actively using their critical thinking get really frustrated with me as an atheist. And I get it. But I just want to reiterate that critical thinking, what we mean when we are like, oh, well, Christians don't use critical thinking, it's not just because they're technically incorrect. It's not just because they have an inaccurate awareness of reality and they believe in literal mythology, right? What we mean is they don't use their own skepticism, or they're not critical of their own thoughts. And then a lot of people leave Christianity and they think they're done. I'm a critical thinker now. And no, babe, you got to keep going. You got to keep being critical. Always, always, always. What have I been saying recently? You've got to question who your thoughts serve. Every single thought you have, who is that serving? Is it serving the government? Is it serving capitalism? Is it serving a version of you who thrived under high demand religion like evangelical Christianity, but it no longer serves you anymore? Every thought you have, they as in this, amorphous gray cloud of the billionaire class who wants to control us and accelerate the end of the world so that they can hoard more and more riches, which is like, whatever. They're so disconnected from everyday people that it's embarrassing for them, honestly. They want to control every single thought you have. They want every single thought you have to be about survival, to be about climbing the capitalist ladder, to be about how you can distract yourself and numb the pain of living in a society that is not built for you. All of that shit, like, that is what whenever you're constantly questioning that is when you use critical thinking. So I just wanted to point that out because that target is missed a lot. All of this in the whole fucking world of Christianity, 2 billion people on this planet, a third of the people, okay, they're all out here doing so much worse, interested in how a few are trying to make the exception, right? Like, it's not enough. And it's like, I don't want to erase the Christians I would stand in solidarity with, like every single, I'd be 10 toes down every day of the week with Christians who are willing to stand up for what's right. I love that. Let's do it. Let's go. I don't care what you believe at that point. But the fact that not only are there so many Christians out here who have been lied to and who have fallen victim to the propaganda of all of this violence in the world and all of the ways that they allow the hatred that they're taught, because no one's born hateful, but the hatred that they're taught to infiltrate the way their ideology and the way they see reality.